Hi, my name's Nick. I'm 42, married to a gorgeous girl. I earn 200k a year and I'm a manager for one of the largest fabrication workshops in the Southern Hemisphere. High distinction student and currently working my way through a PhD. However, 10 years ago, I was lying in my prison cell looking at the ceiling, thinking to myself, 8 years to go. I woke up each morning thinking to myself, am I going to be alive at the end of the day? Life in prison, life hasn't always been rosy for me. My mum and dad split up when I was 4 and I started smoking weed when I was 12 and started using methamphetamine at the age of 30, and I was charged with a very violent crime which cost me 8 years of my life. Prison, it's not what you see on TV, it's hell. I quite often remember thinking to myself, how could such a place exist in such a modern world? There's a lot of violence, someone getting stabbed every day. I just had to keep my head down and get my way through my sentence. One day during our 1 hour recreation time, I was sitting at a table and this guy Jack come along, and I remember him asking one of the other inmates if he was still good for the weekend to help out with the family day visits, barbecue. This guy said no, and I kind of remember thinking to myself, gee, I wonder what else he's got planned. So I volunteered to help Jack out, and it's not like I had a busy schedule anyway, and off to help him out, and you know, thought to myself I might kill some time in my day. So on the day, we're up at the visitor centre cooking the barbecue, and I started talking to Jack and got to know a little bit about him. He was telling me how he just completed a PhD in prison and was working his way through his second PhD. And he also mentioned he belonged to this group called AVP that ran workshops in the prison. And I became intrigued, and he told me that there was a workshop happening in the prison following week, and that I was quite welcome to attend if I wanted. So he also mentioned that there was free cake and biscuits, which was quite rare in the prison system. So anyway, a couple of weeks later, totally lured by the prospect of receiving some free cake and biscuits, I attended this workshop, and I walked into the room and I noticed there was 16 other prisoners sitting around, and in came these two little old ladies with their suitcase, and I remember thinking to myself, geez, what could these little old ladies possibly know about violence? One thing I did notice though was the respect that they received from the other prisoners and the two inmate facilitators, Fred and Jack. Anyway, I completed my 3-day workshop. The feeling for me was somewhat overwhelming. It's like if you could imagine waking up in the morning and seeing a big sign on your ceiling saying next week's lotto numbers are ... It was, I learnt a new vocabulary of words. I made that I knew didn't exist, and I made 16 new friends, all of which had a common goal, and that was to try and avoid violence. And I learned that conflict can be resolved peacefully, and there can be a win-win situation for all. I learned about affirmation, learned about empathy, communication, team building, and having respect for myself. I went on to do my advanced workshop, did the T4F, and then I became an inmate facilitator within the prison system. A few months passed, and one day I was in my cell. These two guys walked in and presented some shivs, which is a homemade knife in the prison system, and they demanded my medication. I was on pain medication for a rather serious back injury, so obviously I've become quite a target for any junkie in the prison system wanting his necks fixed. I insisted that I didn't want to give up my medication and tried to explain that I needed it for the pain, but it didn't work. I ended up copping a couple of whacks to the jaw, and these two guys got away with my medication. Funny thing was, a few weeks later I was getting ready to facilitate another workshop in the prison system, and noticed that this one guy, Dave, that had been involved in this incident, was there waiting to go in. And so I told one of the other facilitators that this guy, what had happened. And she said, look, would you like to have him removed from the workshop? And sort of restored my power, and I thought, no, I could quite easily have them removed. But I decided no. I thought anyone needs to do this workshop. It's this guy. So I said no. Let's let him do the workshop. So as the workshop sort of progressed later on in the day, I decided to go up to Dave and I said, Dave, how you doing the workshop, mate? And he looked down at the ground. He looked sort of quite embarrassed, and he looked up and made eye contact with me. He said, Nick, he said, I'm really sorry, mate. I was desperate, and I'm really sorry. So I said to Dave, look, mate, let's just forget about it. I'm glad you're here in the workshop. And this gave me a great feeling of being able to forgive. Dave later on became a good friend, and he's one of my protectors, and no one ever attempted to take my medication off me again. Him and his mates looked out for me, and I admired his strength and willingness to make changes. He kicked his drug habit, and he became rather healthy. This was good to see. What has AVP done for me? It's given me direction in life. It's given me focus. It's helped me set and achieve realistic goals. It's given me the skills to be able to communicate, so efficiently that I've worked my way up into a management position. It's helped me with relationships, relationship issues. It's given me a positive outlook on life. And I think the best of all, it's given me self-confidence, and it's also given me a sense of community. But best of all, it's given me a family, AVP family. So while I was in prison, I achieved a Certificate 2 in music, a Certificate 1, 2 and 3 in information technology, a Certificate 3 in commercial cookery, Certificate 4 business management, Certificate 4 in occupational health and safety, a Diploma in occupational health and safety, and a Bachelor of Health Science major in occupational health and safety. I guess two guys that I met through AVP, Jack and Fred, they kind of inspired me, and really, Jack having 2 PhDs, and this guy Fred, he pushed me in the direction of study. He sort of assisted me with my studies, and he said to me one day, he said, look mate, you're at a stage now you need to go to university. And I remember I said to him, I said, university? I said, mate, I dropped out of school in year 10, I'm no academic, and he pushed me in the direction. I'm glad he did, because I've got through my whole studies high distinction.